Hello everybody. I'm going to close the comment section so I won't be distracted. I hate being distracted when I'm talking. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month. And I'm also, did not know until last year when I actually found I had English mixed roots on my mama's side and Irish as well, that one of my ancestors was also a black French, no, black, oh no, black French, I know that too, but black Spanish Creole. And let me explain why I said black Spanish Creole. A lot of folks know about the French invading Louisiana and taking it over, but a lot of folks I know that Spain was the first Europeans that came to Louisiana and met the natives. They also brought slaves there too, and also many of the children of the slave master, both French later on after the 1700s, excuse me, 1700s. Sorry about that. But French Canadians, aka Acadians, known as Cajuns, and the French came from France. They brought slaves from Haiti, this and that. Also, up rest of the South and had this big Creole mixture. And Spain was also a contributor of the Creole culture in Louisiana. So I'm from Houston, okay? But some of our people in Texas who are African descent, besides Beyonce, also has French Creole roots because our ancestors during the 1800s, especially late 1800s and the 1900s, came to here in Texas, especially he looked for jobs. Many of them went to California. Many of them also went to Chicago. Actually, the first person who found Chicago was a Haitian mulatto Creole man who found Chicago, the subway and thing. He also spoke Spanish too, because he had, I think his mom was Haitian, black Haitian, but she had ties to those in Cuba who spoke Spanish, and that's how he knows French and Spanish and English, and later on knew Native American language as well, married a Native American woman. He's the founder of Chicago, Chirac, Chi-Town, whatever you want to call it. So before Barack Obama was, and people started bashing Chicago, calling it Chirac instead of Chi-Town, they were already bashing Chicago because a lot of folks didn't know because the subway, okay? The subway, that's his name. Anyway, but it's not about the subject. So I have all these years speaking Spanish for 22 years. Went to predominantly Hispanic school, mostly Mexican descent. Of course, there was other Hispanics there, Puerto Ricans, Meso Ricans, Central Americans at my school in the east side of Harris County here in East Texas. I'm also a part Hispanic, and there's no lie. My mom was, I don't even know this because we have issues with the detail, but I told her sister, my aunt on my mom's side, okay, last October, besides me telling them about their grandfather, my great grandfathers also have English roots, and I traced his roots all the way to English on his paternal grandfather's side, who like a white man. Her mom was white, so she was English and Irish. Okay, I also said that his grandmother, who died 74, born age 84, funny, died in 1974, 5 years before I was born. My sister born was 74 later that year. She was 90 when she died, because it was in February. Her dad was a Rial. They changed it to Rouse. So, Rial, do your research. R-I-A-L is not a common name, because, you hear Gonzalez and Rodriguez and, Ruiz and, Garcia and all that. Those are the most common. His Lopez, especially Jennifer Lopez. Not many people hear about Quintanilla until Selena. Quintanilla came into, what I'm saying? So, and it's funny, yeah, because before I knew about Selena, one of the bullies at my school was last name Quintanilla. Okay, those are the only Hispanic person that had a friend named no, there was somebody else. But when Selena was popping back in the 90s, and I was listening to her music then, it's like that's another Quintanilla, because a lot of folks did not have that last name when I was in school, and then my school became predominantly Hispanic after the white flight in the late 80s. Okay, so technically, it's, I have Spanish mixture. It has to be a black Spanish mixture there, because my fourth grandfather was a Real, and now I'm checking Hispanic category besides black and white and American, even though Spanish is ethnicity, but most Latinos in America, especially in Latin America, are mixed. Okay, we all know that. All right. Speaking of that, there have been videos about, since I'm also, so just to let you know, prior to my research, since 1993, okay, when I was 13 going on 14, 2016 last year, my background, my mixed heritage is African American, Native American, English and French, and also Spanish, Creole, and Irish. Okay, so that's what I am. Okay, it took a while, and I'll be honest with you. When I did the video last year, if you watched me when my hair was all big and everything, was it February last year, and I said my English, and I did mention Real, but I was like, I was kind of like, is that Latin? I didn't want to sound crazy, claiming it was, but when I went on Wikipedia, RIL. That's a Hispanic last name. I was on Facebook looking for some people last name. I saw some Spanish people, Spanish Creole people. Because in Louisiana, you have white people who are pure Spaniard or they're part Cajun, whatever. Oh, they may got some black DNA. Don't want to admit it. Okay, who last name Real? Could be distant cousins. And then also many Latinos like Puerto Rican, the Mexican, Dominican, Salvadoran. Some of them have last name Real. Actually, I was arguing with someone on Facebook, and I told it was 19. He was Mexican American. And I said, "Excuse me, you have my grandfather last name?" And I said, "Oh my God, I've been telling people about Real." Okay, RIL. Okay, that's Real. Okay. So, I am part Hispanic, so I embrace it. I've been speaking Spanish for 20 years, and I knew it. I knew I had it in me. I would be honest with you, just didn't want to make a big claim. Don't want to sound like Rachel Dolezal or anything. But, yeah, so that's why. So, why I'm making this video about DACA? There have been people of African American descent who are, some are Trump supporters, some are not, who do not like Hispanic people because of Cooney Latino folks, who I call pochos, machistas, coconuts, whatever, who don't like themselves, who wish they were white, who want to practice mejor raza, means to better the race by marrying someone white or lighter than them in order to, you know, whatever, okay, do the colorism in their community, don't want to marry someone black or anyone darker, or native looking in their family because they want their family to, you know, get more European looking in the future. That's why George Lopez, who's Afro, mestizo, Asian, thank you, Mariah Carey, DNA results, was saying his grandmother, who's less darker than him, was telling him not to marry a black person with all this other stuff, okay? And it's not just only Mexican people, it's also people, even Charlemagne was saying that people, even those in the Caribbean, practice this mess, okay? And that's very true because I met those who Latina cool with you from Puerto Rican Cuban, and I know it's very known like that. Unlike in Mexico, they got rid of the African culture in Mexico due to Jose Vasconcelos' The Rise of Cosmica essay, where he taught and he constructed race mixing by enforcing it and saying that it would get rid of the Negro race and the new Spanish, new mestizo. Okay, well, they also, this is only affected in Mexico because he was Mexican descent and he was born in Texas. A lot of folks not know. And I think the one drop rule had something to do with that. He probably was learning about why he was going back and forth to Texas, Mexico, United States, to find out, you know, what's going on with race relations. Okay. But also too in Trujillo, who was Haitian and Dominican mulatto, who was anti-black. Say he was white and was trying to get rid of black looking people. That's why, like I said, a lot of folks don't know. That's why a lot of Dominicans say they're not black and they could be looking like me and darker than me, like Wesley Snipes, okay? Because back in the day, if you go around shouting that you're a black and anti-black, self-hating mixed race, you know, Dominican Republic, United States would get killed. A lot of folks do not know that. Even in Cuba, you could not be sporting an afro. And when Ange Daisy went there, I think they had something like I read more research on that, but I heard that she was shot there in Cuba. They was telling her not to wear an afro, okay, when she went to Cuba, okay? You know, she had to go to Mexico or some other country, go to Cuba, because they know that, because it's with Castro and Kennedy, okay? Know your history. I put this book here, Why I Support DACA. A lot of folks don't know here in Texas, this was a slave state. Before it was a slave state, it was also a country and also belonged to Mexico. In Mexico, I always tell people, Mexican Americans, sadly, some of them deny being African descent. Don't understand like you like hip hop and R&B, like I like salsa, merengue, and cumbia and Tejano music, but I just found I'm Hispanic and I'm very proud of it, okay? That lets you know that I'm very proud of all my roots, and some people are not. Whole nother subject, okay? But in this used to be a slave state. A lot of folks that I know that Alamo was about slavery. It was not about white people coming from the South, like Tennessee and Georgia and Virginia and Louisiana and Alabama, Mississippi, and other southern states coming to Texas to be free. That's a lie. The Alamo was about slavery because the second president of Mexico, the first one was Benito Juarez, right? Okay, and he was mestizo. And unlike Mexico, the mixed race people were presidents. Here, they were white. If they were mixed, they had to look white, like Abraham Lincoln, who was triracial Melungeon. He was black and native. Yes, he was. You know, he killed native and betrayed black folks. You know, African-American people after the Civil War and everything about Liberia and all that. I know that story. But a lot of folks not know that he was a mixture and some other presidents later on. And they looked white. They had different DNAs, and they wasn't Caucasian. They kept it a secret. Okay. But in Latin America, majority of the mixed race people were mixed. I mean, people, they was in power. If usually, even though practicing colorist, the lighter one from the darkest one, still a person of mixed heritage and that was openly known to have mixed heritage was in power, was present. Unlike here in the United States, was white, Anglo-Saxon, and Protestant. Okay, even Kennedy, as a Catholic, was killed. Okay. All right, no wonder I deal with anti-Catholicism because I'm going to convert to Catholicism. I'm no longer Protestant, but I deal with here in Texas. Okay, makes sense. White Anglo-Saxon Protestant, right? Okay. So, the real reason why that I was talking about this is because a lot of folks do not know that the real reason why Sam Houston, David Crockett, Lamar, Darwin, who else, all who's in that Texan war, who are white, they was mad at the fact that Mexico, who owned Texas, who's the state Texas in Coahuila, Texas and Coahuila, they was both connected together, I believe. Okay, they was against slavery. A man named Vicente Guerrero, whose mom was Afro-Mestiza, no, Afro-Mexican, excuse me, she was a slave, and her dad was mestizo, so that means he was three races. He fought in the Mexican War with Spain, against Spain, excuse me, because a lot of folks don't know there was a caste system. Las castas, I'm pronouncing Spanish because I'm trying to get ready for a word. Las castas were a caste system where the white Spaniards were on top of Spain. The white Spanish people who called the Criollos, were, because it means native, because that's why the French and Spanish thought they were native here. Makes sense, okay? Well, yeah, but yeah. Anyway, they were secondary. Enemy was mestizos, mulattoes, you know what I mean, black and native, lobos, okay, or zombos, and black and white mulattoes, native and white mestizos, and the mixing and the mixture of them, you know, they had different names of mixed race category. Your parent was a Spaniard, mulatto, all that was in the middle. And at the bottom was the pure blacks, who were black Mexicans, and the pure native, the indigenous and Native Americans. They was at the bottom. And then how that caste system worked was, that's why I'm not for who had more white blood, who had more black, was about how much civil rights you have according to having more quote-unquote white DNA, white blood, okay? The more, according to their caste system, the more white blood you have, the more freedom you have, which makes why a lot of people use those blood quarters and even trying to use a DNA test to determine, because I don't care what, if it's in you, no matter how degree it's part of your part. But people try to determine, because they're trying to determine rights and civil rights and whatever, that's exactly what they're doing, since people are mixed in this day and age. Mexico went against it. They felt this was slavery. This was because that's why they brought slaves in Mexico, in the third race. Africa's the third race in Mexico. That's the third root. The Sierra Raíz, okay, of Mexico. Veracruz was the port. The state of Veracruz is where they brought the slaves there, and they migrated. You had what's the man who's like Nat Turner? I think it was the 1600s. His name was Gaspar Yanga. He fought against Spanish slaves, a slave master, excuse me, and he became the co-founder or the founder of Veracruz. Okay, no wonder they call me Jarocho when I was in El Paso, Texas, because it's darker Mexicans there, and there are people who do look black down there, besides Guerrero, Oaxaca, and Chiapas, which is known as Costa Chica, being a little coast, okay, in the Pacific area of Mexico. And Guerrero, the name is named after Vicente Guerrero, the president. When he fought against Spain, a lot of folks besides the La Raza Cosmica essay by Jose Vasconcelos, that they got rid of all the records who had black in them. So that's why Mexico got rid of this categorization and said we all are Mexican no matter what color we are, okay? No matter what shade we are, whatever. When Vicente Guerrero became president, his mother was an ex-slave. She was a Afro-Mexican woman, and that was a Mexican mestizo man. He banned slavery. First, he banned it in 1826, and I guess some Spaniards were still resistant to his rule, who owned slaves, and then he enforced that all the slaves should be emancipated in 1829. He later also got killed, but that rule remained the law. So if you was an African descendant person, would be pure or mixed, coming from the South, you coming to Texas, you were free. Folks did not know the white Anglo-Saxon people who were racist was going to the Southwest in order to expand their slave business. The idea was to make more money, because slavery before it was about race, it was about money, okay? Because remember, the African slaves were slaves to the African kings and queens that we always talk about, we kings and queens. If a tribe, even Africans who don't lie, will tell you this, and I say don't lie, because the African at my job was telling me, you're actually right. He's Benin, not the country. He's tribe Benin, but he's not from Nigeria. He's not Yoruba or Igbo. And you know, Igbo tribe and us here in Houston have a lot of issues, okay, between them, okay? I talk about that in my videos. Well, he said, because the different tribes fight one another, and the tribe that wins slayed the other. So when white people came to Africa, they gave them money, which no one, I keep telling people, you don't want to get abused on a job. Money, not all money is good money. Keyword. But anyway, sweetie, I hope you learn your lesson when Kim fired you from Housewives of Atlanta. Whole other subject. But not all money is good money, okay? They sold their slaves to white people. And I always make the comment, I said, excuse me, before you get mad at me about not being African descent, of course I'm African descent, but not being pure, not knowing the culture, it's not my fault, because y'all, I would tell some Africans if we got into it, your ancestors sold my African ancestors and gave them to my white ancestors, because you know we mix with white too, and also Native American. So what happened is that they were trying to expand their slave plantation. I don't know how they gonna do it in the desert, because they know that in the desert, right in the South and West Texas, there are no cotton fields, okay? That's cool, but they was trying to get California, Utah, they was trying to do this so they can expand their slave business. And let me let you know, in my hypothesis, the reason why they were doing it, because a lot of African American people was going to California when it was Mexico, going to New Mexico, folks don't know the history. There's a book called The Black California. They had money in California, and there was no black and brown racism down that time. Actually, Los Angeles, folks don't know, was founded by, some of the founders were Afro-Mexican, besides the mestizo and a native who co-founded together Los Angeles, not Spaniards. And the Latino man who's Chicano descent, who written a book, Mutual Mistrust, about black and brown. I read that book. I think his name was Nestor something. I gotta find the author, but I read that book back in 2006, and he even admit that. Even the last governor of California, Pio Pico, was Afro-Mestizo. One of his grandma was a Mexican mulata, and on their census, it does indicate that she was, okay. So his birthday is also Cinco de Mayo. So a lot of people, that's why I always make the comment that all this black and brown racism make them folks roll in their grave when they see it from heaven, or if they are in heaven. Now, we'll never know who this man's soul goes to when they die. Only God knows. But they're in heaven. They rolling and getting mad right down in heaven, trying to be pious and be merciful and stuff in God. But they upset at the people acting a fool, whether it be the African or Hispanic, especially in Southern California. You need to know your history, probably don't want. But you know, a lot of folks that know, and not to change the subject. Speaking of South, as Joe Brown said, we're talking about Dick Gregory and them on one of the channels, it's a black channel that I talked to Black History, and Joe Brown, the judge, goes on that show. I think Wake Up Black, something like that's called. And he did say that the reason about the racism, especially in the police department, because he used to go to the South and advertise, you want to work for LAPD. And many of these folks come from Klan families and stuff. That's why they recruited and brought them to Los Angeles, which makes sense, because a lot of folks know Los Angeles was not like it is right now. And I'm not trying to knock Protestant, due to the white Anglo-Protestant people from the South and other places. No offense, that will corrupt Los Angeles. and I'm ex-prize, so I can say that, okay? That will corrupt Los Angeles. And a lot of folks know that prior to segregation, yes, but a lot of black people in the Zuzu riots, African descendant people, Hispanic people, and Filipino Asian people were together. They were not fighting against each other. See, so you know your history, y'all. Okay, so them people who fight in drug business and prison gangs, they don't know their history, and if they do, they're being ignorant of acting ignorant, knowing the fact that at the end of the day we're all related. Okay. Okay, because my African ancestor could have came from the same tribe, went to Mexico too, and my native, even though it could be a different tribe, probably had a connection with your tribe, which is they do already, because they're both the American and the European, but of course come from Europe, but then found out technically I got Spanish Creole, so that makes me more Spanish, so we all related, okay? Alright, let's get to the subject. So we want to bring this history because y'all, in history class, they don't teach you this, and they keep quiet. Y'all sure don't think out the box, okay? All right. So the Anglo, that's why they was going to Texas, because they was trying to expand their slave business, they plantation and cotton. If you're in the desert in El Paso, I don't know how the hell you gonna do that. But anyway, if they do have cotton fields, I didn't see one in El Paso. No, in San Azadio, they have grass and stuff. But when you go in El Paso, this one down, how the hell a slave gonna pick cotton? Okay, and yet there were Afro Mexicans in El Paso. A Latino man just did a video. It was a 40-minute video. I didn't have time to watch all of it, but he talks about in El Paso, Texas, in I think Las Cruces, there were Afro people. I read it when I was in El Paso, and I was upset that every time I go see Viva El Paso, they were not mixing the African part. Not only because I'm African descent, and I know about the African descent mixture in Mexico, but there's history there. I remember reading about a man being married so many times, Afro Latino man that was married so many times, and I remember doing the story writing in college about that man. And he lived in El Paso because it's called El Norte, El Paso del Norte. That's what the word Paso because the Paso of North. Okay, you know the history. Okay, so why I'm bringing all this up? Okay, because you have people of African descent to understand that the Alamo was about slavery and they stole this state. See, if you don't know, when Santa Anna was winning, he met a mulatto named Emma Morgan West. Either she was a free woman of color or she was a slave to Captain Morgan. Okay, slave to white man Captain from up north. He saw how beautiful, exotic she was, and he picked her up and went to about Pasadena, Washburn Channel, Glen Park, all in that area. Okay, and when Santa Anna was with her, he had his drawers on. When Sam Houston and his army caught them, they mean he was to do the wild thing. Wild thing, they about to do the wild thing. It sure was. But he also was in love with the cocoa. Now, I don't know if it was cocaine, but he had drogas. They mean drugs. And they had drugs back then. People know that 1860, that's what cocaine was in Coca-Cola. That's what the word, you know, your history. So, they gave him drugs. That's how he surrendered and lost. They don't teach it in school. Well, when Texas was stolen from Mexico, okay, became the Republic of Texas, even the mulattoes who had black mamas and white daddies, slave masters who fought with Sam Houston, excuse me, and they were African descendant people. I'll tell you who did fight with Santa Anna. Okay, Marcel, whatever his name, that's the man, the black Latino man. He like Mexican, but he but he black and Mexican. He's a councilman or whatever in San Antonio, Texas. We talked. I said Marco or Marcel. I forgot his name. Y'all know what I'm talking about. If y'all know, I did remember about the George Lopez thing, and that man older than George Lopez when he made that comment. But yeah, my point is, he mentioned about making a movie into his business about a movie, and I said I want to start in it about the black soldiers who fought with Santa Anna. Well, there were also black soldiers, partial black soldiers, whether they were free or slave, who fought with Mexicans who betrayed their own country, known as Tejanos, no offense to Tejano music, who fought with the Anglos on that side. Okay. And two of them I read when I was in El Paso, Texas, well, they get kicked out. They had white wives to them, two mulattoes, and they had to write a letter to say the Republic of Texas to keep them behind in Texas before it became part of slavery. They looked at them become a slave, it became part of Confederacy. But anyway, maybe it is. You never know. So a lot of folks now know when it was the Republic of Texas, and prior to joined the Confederacy that even Sam Houston was against. Okay, many of them, even Sam Houston's slaves, Ashu and Tom, crossed the Rio Grande to be free. See, Mexico, the Rio Grande, and I don't want to disrespect nobody. I hate the N word. The word wetback. I hate that word. You know why? It's very racist, like the N word. But guess what? We had to be the wet blacks by crossing the Rio Grande to be free. See, because if Mexico was being an anti-DACA, your poor, excuse me for the name, so I'm cuss here, your poor black ass or pure black ass had to be slave to massa and had no way out. See, besides hearing about Harriet Tubman going to Canada and being free, Canada's too damn far. I'm sorry. If we got another country, we got to either swim in that doggone nasty, today it wasn't nasty back then, good Gulf of Mexico to go to the Caribbean, not to get ate by sharks, or just swim the Rio Grande. Black Seminoles, part black and the American, mixed Seminoles, the American people who was with the Trail of Tears from Spanish Florida when Andrew Jackson bought it, and they kicked the natives, the Cherokee, the Choctaws in my DNA, Choctaw on my dad's side. Maybe it was some other tribes as well, because they said they American don't know the tribes, because that blood quantum and the $5 Indian and one drop rule messing our family, screwed our identity up and who we are. That's why I'm doing all this research, and it takes time because it's very extensive to do all this geographical research. Okay, 1993 to 2016, and I took a lot of breaks because it also take money. When I got my income tax, I was able to get a lot of stuff on my ancestry. But anyway, point is, the Choctaw, the Cherokee, the Seminole, the Chickasaw, the Creek was kicked out of their lands, and the Cherokee had black folks that were either slaves, or they were free, or they were mixed, or whatever that was with them, and they went to Oklahoma. But they had the part white Native American folks, and also Native Americans, some of them who were slave masters, who were trying to slave the black Seminoles in Indian Territory, aka Oklahoma. That's why they had to leave Oklahoma and go to Texas. And they couldn't stay in Texas to be a slave. That's why they crossed the Rio Grande. Other former slaves from New Orleans, they were pure or mixed black French Creole people, Spanish Creole, went to Mexico too. And two of the slaves of Sam Houston according to this book, went to Mexico. Tom married a Mexican woman. This book is called Across the Rio to Freedom, U.S. Negroes in Mexico by Rosen Schwartz, and it was published in 1975, 4 years before I was born. We need to know our history. Before you start bashing DACA, okay, and because you had a bad experience with a Porcho Malachista Coconut Latino, and I bet you 19 was one who born here who got whitewashed, okay? Not saying all, no all, but you got those, and if it's an immigrant, they got 19 got whitewashed, but they was here, especially with little kids, because I noticed that the ones who are racist, they was here for a while, they was a little kid, but born in Mexico, but raised here in the United States, a kid, they'll adapt that racism here in the United States. Do you understand? But if you're coming from Mexico or the other Latin countries, they don't have it unless they have some type of access to media and all the stereotypical stuff, whatever. But usually the ones who are poor do not have access to media, do not have access to TV, the stereotype something to do, whatever, but they don't have that racist mentality, because racism in Latin America is totally different from the United States, okay? And so in Mexico opens doors to African Americans and people, and it's speaking of Santa Anna, I say he's a hero than Sam Houston. Sam Houston was a slave master. Santa Anna was fighting for Mexico for our poor black ancestors and pure black ancestors to be free in Texas, because if you was coming out of the plantation, you go to Texas, which was part of Mexico, you were free. And that's why I support DACA. I'm wearing an Aaron Foster jersey. And a lot of people don't know that, yeah, he's from Phoenix, Arizona. But Aaron Foster's mama is Mexican. My dad's African American. No different than Melody Thornton from the Pussycat Dolls. You know, when Nicole, don't you wish you go for? Yeah, she's part Mexican, part black too. The ones, because it's funny. The white girls and the one who's part white and part Asian in the Pussycat Dolls, they were just singing the hooks. They wouldn't have a part to sing. The only one was the mixed race, more exotic looking chicks. Nicole, who I can't say her name because she's part Russian, Hawaiian, Filipino, whatever she is. And And Melody Thornton, you know, I was listening to Buttons. Little setting up my buttons. The one who's, that's Melody. Okay, she's part Mexican, part black. Okay, huh. All right. Anyway, point is, Aaron Foster is part Mexican and part black. He used to play for the Texans. I'm wearing his number right now. Besides Cam Newton, who came out the closet and said he's part Mexican too down the family tree, I'm about to get his jersey. And I did not buy it from the NFL store, y'all, because I am boycotting how they treating Kaepernick. I bought it on eBay from somebody, so that money went to somebody, okay? And I wear the shirt they have, okay? And I wear this because I want to be awareness of our people, especially if, you know, mixed race people. Not to say that they didn't black identify, and, you know, Cam Newton wasn't until last year, but we need to, those who fall against racism or those who have make some type of cause, let it be known. You know what I'm saying? So, by me with this multiracial identity and multiracial heritage, I'm very proud of it. I like in the brothers who stand out. I had to buy both Kaepernick and Air Foster jersey. A lot of people, like I said, don't know that he's part Mexican. He's part Mexican, okay? And to have wearing this shirt during Hispanic Heritage Month with Spanish Creole mixture DNA and admitting it and talking about this book, because it wasn't from Mexico. Those people who went across the Rio Grande with 19 men sent back to Texas and become someone's slave. So before anybody start bashing Mexicans because you had a bad experience, because don't forget you also had bad experience with African Americans. Do you hate your own people? I had bad experience with those with my own people, my own African American people, and I'm bashing the individuals, not the whole group. That's why I say some or not all. Okay? Be talking about DACA. Don't forget there's African immigrants. It's also immigrants from Caribbean, and other people who are affected by taking away DACA. Okay? And that's a part Hispanic brother. A brother who's African American, Native American, French, and Spanish Creole. It makes me part Latino, Hispanic origin, Irish, and English. I support DACA. Because it wasn't for the slaves and former slaves and those who were free crossing that Rio Grande being the wet blacks, they would not take someone's slave if Mexico did not give them a DACA. People don't know their history and their roots, and they're very ignorant. And they hate the fact that I talk about history because I'm proving how ignorant they are. I have no apologies in that. Before you start calling me a coon, if it was still slavery, which 19 probably go there because we got somebody in their office. What is your plan? Because their plan was to get out. Like the movie Get Out, and they did. They did the Josephine Baker thing before Josephine Baker went to France and was even created, okay? So my question is, if I'm a coon, I'm not being a coon to support freedom. I'm not being coon. You support being enslaved and being oppressed, then bitch and moan about it and don't do nothing about it. Don't do nothing about it, okay? I'm looking about a solution. I talk about racism all the time because I'm looking for a solution. And some of y'all, that's why the women in Black Lives Matter contribute more than the men. These men who more masculine than I am claim to be, they not use their masculine qualities to find the solution in trying to fight and resist racism. When you're sitting here bashing DACA, you need to know where you're at. We're not in Nigeria. We're not in Liberia. We're not in the Congo or any of those African countries to say anything. We're in a country that our Native American ancestors' land was stolen by our white ancestors and brought our African ancestors here to be enslaved for their own greed. But you have no solution to the problem, and you want to call someone a coon and a sellout, but not do nothings, and I use the word nothings, about the situation. That's why I support DACA. Because when that wall is built, where are you going to go? When it becomes a race war, what type of mass destruction or weapons to fight the white racism? You can't do that. You can't fight the white racism because those ghetto guns and $1 guns that you was 19 expensive, they're not in good quality compared with the white race people in the government and outside have. You will lose that war. So that wall built up, where you're going to go? You're going to swim the Atlantic Ocean, or you're going to swim the Pacific Ocean, or you're going to raise a GoFundMe, have plane tickets to get out of here. That's why. And Mexico was the gateway for our freedom. That's why I support Mexico. That's why I love Mexico and its culture. Because y'all don't have no historical reference to what you're arguing, but I do. And this book, 4 years before I was born, was created to let you know that this was a truth story, that many slaves were the wet blacks, crossed the Rio Grande to be free so they don't have to be called all type of niggers or niggas by massa and be dehumanized. So if you love your oppression, shut up and enjoy it, but I don't love oppression. I guess y'all the coons want to bash me.